Welcome back to That Philly Sports Girl. I'm your host, Elise Person, and wow, don't the 2020 Philadelphia Eagles just sum up 2020 as a year? I mean, so many high expectations coming into 2020, so many high expectations coming in for the Philadelphia Eagles this fall, and both have just been complete letdowns. I mean, 2020, do I have to explain? And then 2020 Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, yesterday we tied with the Bengals. 23-23, which for me is basically another loss. I mean, we can't beat the Bengals. Who can we beat? I mean, apparently no one. But I mean, come on. There were a lot of problems yesterday problems for me in yesterday's performance, starting from the quarterback execution all the way into the coaching staff. I think they were two big key factors in the tie. I mean, for me, the Eagles look like they are playing and coaching not to lose, which is different than playing and coaching to win. There is a huge difference in the effort and what you're putting out and the execution into playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win. And I think that was made very clear yesterday when we just settled and conceded for a tie against the Bengals. I mean, we have nothing left to lose. Being 0-2-1 is the same thing as being 0-3 for me, especially being 0-2-1, the Bengals giving you your tie. I mean, for me, I just think that's just as embarrassing as being 0-3. So let's talk about how this all came about. I mean, yeah, we had shaky offensive execution in the beginning of the first four quarters, and then we go into overtime. And yes, Matt Pryor did a very costly and poor time mistake by getting that false start. But what's even worse for me is Doug Peterson's decision to not even attempt the 64-yard field goal or even have Carson Wentz and his offense try and go convert. We had nothing left to lose. I mean, we're now 0-2-1 instead of 0-3. Like, wow, that makes me feel so much better as an Eagles fan. But I personally would have rather seen Jake Elliott at least attempt the 64-yard field goal, which, yes, to be fair, I know that that's a long field goal, but I think that Jake Elliott shows up when it counts. I think that he has already made that pretty clear. Or I think that we should have just had Carson Wentz and his offense go out and try to convert. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is we miss it and we put the Bengals towards midfield, which, yes, doesn't seem ideal, but also the defense was playing great yesterday. I mean, if you look at it, the Eagles defense allowed 6 points in the final 40 minutes of the game and only allowed 2 first downs in overtime. So for that, I want to take my chances. I want to see if the Eagles can convert and then we can win and at least be 1-2. Or, you know what? We miss, the Eagles defense doesn't show up and the Bengals win. Which, yeah, I guess that wouldn't be great either, but then we would be 0-3 instead of 0-2-1, when we could have even attempted to be 1-2. I think that we just kind of conceded that. I don't even think we went for it. And especially, like I mentioned, the Eagles defense was playing great. I mean, they had also sacked Joe Burrow 8 times. So I would have totally taken my chances in trying the field goal, or even the first down, because then you at least have a chance of winning the game, like I said. And instead, we just now are 0-2-1. What does that even mean? I don't like that at all. So now another issue for me is the play calling. I think Miles Sanders should be getting the ball much more in key moments. Wentz's very first pick of the day came from a pass that for me was a little forced. Miles Sanders had 2 back-to-back 10-yard runs, and then on 3rd and 3, we call a passing play, and Wentz gets picked off on the very first drive of the day. So for me, that's a combo of poor play calling and Wentz's ability to read the field, make decisions, and convert on 3rd down. So right now, the Eagles lead the league in turnovers, and it's all coming from Carson Wentz. He has 6 interceptions, a 58% completion percentage, and he has the worst passing grade in the NFL. He is just missing these layup passes. He's constantly overthrowing. He's not accurate. And for me, I would like to see more from him. He's also been sacked 11 times, which, yes, we are working with a very shaky offensive line, but his awareness in the pocket is not great. I mean, he also had that fumble that, thank goodness, Jason Kelce recovered, but Carson Wentz just isn't isn't aware in the pocket. I just think that there's some things that he really needs to clean up. Let's look at our overall career with Carson Wentz as a starter. Carson Wentz's career record without having thrown any interceptions in a game is 22-8. With one interception in a game, he is 10-18, and with two or more interceptions in a game, he is 1-8. So this is a direct representation as to our win-loss record and being completely affected by Carson Wentz's ability to protect the football and make good passes, make good decisions. Having 6 interceptions by going into week 4 is very bad. That's very poor, and that's just not what we want to see from our franchise quarterback. So let's continue on. I mean, there is some things that I don't think fall all on Nick Foles, I wish, on Carson Wentz, but it's the play calling for me too. You know, there's some times where there is a passing play that I think should have been a running play. Like I mentioned before, I want to see Miles Sanders get more touches. He had 18 carries for 95 yards yesterday. I think give him the ball more. I want to see him with those touches going up. I want more touches from him. He's a constant. I think we need him to give the ball more, especially on third downs, because I think that he can convert. We just have to give him the ball more often. Let's stop running passing plays on 3rd and 3 and having Carson Wentz get picked off. Let's give it to Miles Sanders and let him go to work. So let's talk about some positives on the offensive end, because there were some positives on the offensive end in yesterday's tie. But Greg Ward came up big yesterday with a great touchdown pass, and he finished the day with 8 receptions for 72 yards. Zach Ertz also came up with some key receptions in the 4th. He finished the day with 7 receptions for 70 yards. Let's talk even more positives. Let's move to the defense, who I think had a pretty decent day. 23 points on the board for the Bengals is still a little high for me, so I would like to see them work on that going into next weekend. But I think that they capitalized and took advantage of Joe Burrow's horrendous offensive line. I mean, poor boy, can we get him some help in there? He's not even going to make it to the end of the season with what's happening on his offensive line, or lack thereof, offensive line. The Eagles finished the day with 8 sacks. Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett each finished with 2 apiece. So I think it was really nice to see the defense taking advantage of a situation that they could have. You know, I would have been definitely a little bummed out if we didn't have as many sacks as we did, because just of how shaky the offensive line is. And I think that we have really great playmakers on our defensive end. So it was really nice to see them take advantage and capitalize on this. So, I mean, moving on to injuries, what is going on? I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, yesterday we have 5 Eagles players get injured. Dallas Goedert left in the first quarter with an ankle injury. He'll be getting an MRI today, but it's expected to miss some time. And we'll know a little more today once he gets the MRI, but it's looking pretty doubtful for his status coming into the next few weeks. Deshaun Jackson left with a right hamstring issue before halftime. Avonte Maddox limped off the field, went straight to the locker room with an ankle injury late in the 3rd. And then Jason Peters got injured late into overtime and did not return. And then we have an injury that happened this week. First-round pick Jalen Reagor is out for multiple weeks with a thumb injury. He can miss up to 7 weeks, and sources are hopeful that he'll be back after the bye week. So I'm just not really sure what to say about the injuries. They are just mounting up, and it's just really not something that we need right now. I mean, we're now 0-2-1. Our whole squad seems to be getting hurt, and I just don't know what to do about it. Is it the unluckiness? Is there something that we can do with the injury prevention? I don't know, but it's really unfortunate, and it's just not something that the Philadelphia Eagles need right now. So now let's go look at how the rest of the NFC East did this weekend. The Dallas Cowboys fell to the Seattle Seahawks 38-31. Deshaun Jackson was trending after yesterday's game after DK Metcalf pulled what Twitter is calling a Deshaun Jackson. After Metcalf slowed down before entering the end zone and started celebrating too soon when Cowboys D-back Trevor Diggs didn't give up on the play and forced a fumble. So the fact that Deshaun Jackson is trending because of that kind of cracks me up. But he probably finished the day yesterday and was like, why am I trending on Twitter? I didn't really do anything. Oh, wait, it's just highlighting that time I did the same thing and celebrated too early. So Dak Prescott finished yesterday 27 for 40 with 315 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Cowboys are now 1-2 and tied for first place with the Washington football team. The Washington football team fell to the Cleveland Browns 34-20 yesterday. Dwayne Haskins was picked off 3 times and he finished the day 21 for 37 with 224 yards. The Washington football team now moves to an overall record of 1-2 and, like I had mentioned before, is tied for first place with the Cowboys. The Giants fell to the San Francisco 49ers 36-9, putting them in last place in the NFC East with a record of 0-3. The 49ers were without their starting quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo and had no problem walking all over the Giants. The Giants were scoreless in both the first and the fourth quarter. Daniel Jones was 17 for 32 for 179 yards, threw 1 pick, and was sacked twice. So the Giants game yesterday was a great one to watch as we are looking forward to this weekend. The Eagles will be facing off against the San Francisco 49ers this upcoming Sunday. Like I had mentioned yesterday, 49ers starting quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo was not playing. He has now been deemed week to week with a high ankle injury, so we are not sure if we are going to be facing off against him or backup Nick Mullins, who yesterday finished 25 for 36 with 343 yards and a touchdown against the Giants. So, their backup isn't looking too horrible. He had a day against the Giants. So, looking at what the Eagles need to do this weekend, the 49ers yesterday scored on 7 of its first 8 possessions. So coming into this weekend, we really need the defense to highlight and look at that and make sure that they are looking at ways that they can get stops. Let's rush him. Let's just be able to make stops and let's not have them do what they did against the Giants to us, scoring on 7 of 8 of the first possessions. And then as for the Eagles offense this upcoming weekend, I think that we need to look at giving Miles Sanders more touches. I think that Carson Wentz needs to clean up his mechanics. But I also think that Doug Peterson and the coaching staff needs to get some different play calls in. I think that we need to mix it up. Long balls, let's cut them down a little bit. Let's cut down the passing game on third and short. And let's give the ball to Miles Sanders more. And I think that we could have some success if we do that. This weekend's going to be a tough one against the 49ers, but if Carson Wentz can pull it together and we can get some better play calling, I think that it could be a decent game. So that's going to do it for today. I'm That Philly Sports Girl, and thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.